Is Garoppolo due for a breakout?
I think so. I mean, he does really well against the Rams, almost all the time. Sometimes familiarity is not good in some aspects, but I think with the 49ers and with Garoppolo seems to thrive when there's a lot of familiarity and stuff that he, knows he can do well. And the Rams' weakness is kind of where the Niners' strength is with the passing game, especially when Garoppolo's is the quarterback. So, yeah, I definitely think, and like I said, I'm hard to please with Jimmy, but he's had the Rams number for the most part. So, yeah, I mean, if the Niners could just get a little pass protection for this guy, I mean, I just think we skill position wise, offensively, I just think I think the matchup just favors us across the board, man. I mean, tight end, Debo, even Ayuk, Elijah Mitchell. It's just a matter of, if the Niners offensive line can, do a semblance of anything that is close to good pass protection, I think Jimmy can have his day. A lot of quick stuff, a lot of slants, a lot of digs, a lot of crossers, stuff that he does well. They should mix in a wheel route just in case to see if he can actually hit it this time. That'd be great. Don't know if that's going to happen, but I think Jimmy's due. I just think that it's time. I've been so critical of him. A lot of people are critical of him, and it's, there's some merit behind it. He's not been the best in the playoffs, but at any time, any player can show up and make a play. I mean, look at friggin' what's his name who blocked the punt, Jordan Willis. Players like that. You see that was coming out of nowhere. No one would have predicted that. So, yeah, I think Jimmy has a chance to have a good one here. You just got to give him some time, really.
I definitely think giving him time to complete the passes will be paramount. I don't think that Jimmy Garoppolo is due for a breakout game. And I say that because I don't think it will be needed. I don't think that that's going to be really the game plan that's called for in this one. Now, when I say breakout game, I mean, I don't think he's going to throw for 300 plus. I do think he's going to need to have a better game than he has had these past four, right, in throwing these interceptions. I don't know who it was I saw on Twitter, but someone told me that Jimmy had never thrown a pick in 4 straight, right? And he had 3 straight. But he wasn't going to throw that 4th one. I don't remember who it was that threw that out there. I can't recall, but it was someone on Twitter. And then, lo and behold, there was that pick in 4 straight. But certainly, if we're talking about law of averages earlier, now it's even less likely that he's throwing one in this one. So I think a clean game is what I'm predicting here. Garoppolo is due for a clean game. I'm going to put him somewhere in that 250 to 275 yards. So you could technically, I think, call that a breakout game for Jimmy Garoppolo. We have sort of adjusted our expectations for him based on what he is and what we know him to be. And therefore, potentially that is the bar. But to me, it's about getting the run game going. That the way the 49ers win this one is through creative Shanahan game play, play design, game calling. It will be one of those where, Debo's the star, and then you have Elijah Mitchell chewing up the yardage, 4.4 per carry for, 30 carries or whatever we try and run that guy into the ground. But Jimmy's going to have to be clutch. He is going to have to hit some very high pressure throws. And ironically, in those moments, he does seem to be as cool as the other side of the pillow. Like it is uncanny that in one instance, he's throwing a boneheaded interception where you're like, Jimmy, where did that come from? Didn't you see the linebacker? Like, I saw him and I'm watching it on a 12-inch TV or whatever the case may be. But what we need from Jimmy in this one is to execute. We don't need him to be a gunslinger. We don't need him to be Matthew Stafford chucking it down the field. We need him to complete the 3rd and 6, the 3rd and 4, the 3rd and 12 on a rare occasion, right? It's those passes that he's going to have to make. I don't care how many touchdowns a man has. I don't care what his completion percentage is in total. I care what his completion percentage is on those critical downs where he's got to hit George Kittle over the middle against one of those suspect linebackers and pick up, 30 on yards after the catch. To me, that's the type of game that we're looking for from Jimmy Garoppolo in this one, and I do think he delivers.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll have a topic where Rob and I disagree because we've been on the same page thus far throughout the whole episode. But I agree with him. I don't think it'll be needed. And I'm not sure it's going to happen. We talked about the 49ers winning six straight and does that law of average play out? And we basically said no. So I don't know why this would be any different. My concern is that this is the law of average for Jimmy G when he's been hurt because we really haven't seen him be great since he's been hurt. We've seen him have a good half, but since he hurt the thumb against Tennessee, terrible, terrible play. And then he had a good half against the Rams. He was really bad in the first half. He was not very good for a majority of the Cowboys game and Green Bay game. This might be who he is with the injury. So we'll see. I don't think he needs to be great. I just think he needs to protect the ball. I think that's his number one thing that he has to get done this weekend. Just protect the ball, and that should be enough. Now, 2 weeks rest, going up against Kansas City, which I think is a really bad defense. I think that could be the breakout game if that's the Super Bowl that happens. But for right now, just get through this one. Don't have too many boneheaded plays. Limit yourself to maybe one turnover, and I think that things can be okay in this game.
Yeah, Rob, I heard about that guy who was talking about how Garoppolo hadn't had a turnover in 4 straight games. If you're that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's
Clearly,
that's just bad knowledge on his part. I would say that I think I disagree with all three of you. I think Garoppolo needs to have a breakout game against the Rams, and breakout game meaning he needs to go for 260 plus in order to win this game. They're not going to be able to run the ball, I feel, for 240 yards or 200 yards. They're going to probably be right around 120, 130. They're going to need his yardage to make up the difference. And quite frankly, if you watch the game, looking back at the game against the Green Bay, there's a ball right in the beginning of the game where if it's completed, he's over 200 yards against the Packers with a touchdown. And, obviously the interception comes, but he needs to have a big game. He might not have to lead them down the field at the end of the game to win, but he needs to be able to play well. He needs to play like he played the first half of, like the second half of the Rams game and the first half of the Cowboys game. If he does that, they win. Or if he just comes out and he plays the way that he played the first half of the Cowboys game, but they end those drives and touchdowns instead of field goals, that's how they win this game. So they need more out of him. They can't go through this game with multiple interceptions from him. They might be able to get away with one, but more than that, I don't think that they win. So I'm going to say the opposite. I think that Garoppolo is due for a breakout. He needs to have one.
I like that call, Jack, and I think you swayed me a little bit. I do believe also that in addition to that, he's going to need those around him to step up their game. You can't have the drops that occurred at the beginning against Green Bay. Kittle's got to make that catch against the Rams. I'm willing to forgive it a little bit because, again, I felt that cold. I know how numb his arms must have been at that point because he was going sleeveless. But he and Jawan Jennings, like those are critical catches you've got to make in this Rams game because on offense, they potentially can put up some points. So I tend to agree that there's going to be some production needed from Jimmy G.